Welcome back. This is day 4 of sexual reproduction. And today's aim is how do meiotic and mitotic cell division differ? So today's lesson is all about comparing and contrasting what we know about meiosis and mitosis. Remember, we use meiosis to create gametes or sex cells, and we use mitosis to produce body cells or somatic cells. Okay, so keep that in mind as we work through today's lesson. But before we get to that, you guys have got 2 do not questions. Go ahead and pause this video, answer questions 1 and 2. Write your answers on this line right here, and then press play when you're ready to review them. All right, so question number 1, the ability of cells to pass on their characteristics to new cells is most directly related to the ability of what? So when we say pass on their characteristics, we're talking about passing on DNA, passing on those genes. Okay, and in order for that to happen, chromosomes have to replicate. We have to replicate those chromosomes so that each cell gets a copy of the DNA or a copy of genes. Okay. All right, so you should have gotten the answer to number 1 was D, which leads us to number 2. Which human disorder is characterized by a group of abnormal body cells that suddenly begin to undergo cell division at a very rapid rate? You might also call this uncontrolled cell division or uncontrolled mitosis. So this is an example of B, cancer. So you should have gotten that that is answer choice B. All right, the very first thing we're going to do today is look at this diagram comparing and contrasting the start and ending point of mitosis and meiosis. And I believe you guys have seen this diagram before, but we're going to go over it one more time. So we need to know that mitosis, like I said earlier, is going to be the division of body cells. Okay, but meiosis is the division of gametes or sex cells. Okay. In both cases, we're starting out with a diploid cell. You'll see this represented as 2N, meaning it has the full set of chromosomes. So in humans, that's 46. 2N is a diploid number, meaning it has all of the chromosomes that cell needs. But this is where things start to get different, because we know that mitosis is producing body cells. The ending goal is to produce 2 identical daughter cells. So you may notice that both of these ending cells are still diploid. They're still 2N. They both still have 46 chromosomes. They are identical to that parent cell. Okay, but things are a little bit different with meiosis. We still start out with a diploid cell, but because the goal of meiosis is to produce gametes, we need those chromosomes to be, we need those cells to be haploid. We represent that with a single N, meaning they have half the total set of chromosomes. Okay, I kind of squeezed it in there. That's half total set of chromosomes. Okay, and you might also see that we actually have 4 cells now. So remember that with the ending result of meiosis, we're ending with 4 unidentical daughter cells. So we might describe them as genetically different or genetically diverse. Okay, and that is one of the main benefits of meiosis and sexual reproduction, is because it leads to genetic diversity. So make sure you guys are comfortable with the starting and ending points of mitosis and meiosis. Make sure you know where they are similar and where they are different. That leads us to, we're going to be comparing mitosis and meiosis one last time today. But what we're going to do is, I provided you with a chart as well as a word bank of characteristics. I want you guys to pause this video and make sure you put each of these characteristics in the category where they belong. So figure out, does this characteristic describe meiosis? Does it describe mitosis? Or does it describe both of those processes? All right, so pause this video, fill out this chart with the word bank, and then press play when you're ready to review it. Right. So for our purposes, when I'm describing meiosis, I'm going to use the color red. When I'm describing mitosis, I'll use the color blue. And when I'm describing meiosis, I'll use my favorite color, purple. Okay, so the first characteristic we have is makes 4 cells. This is a characterization of meiosis. We're making those 4 gametes. Okay, but next up we've got makes 2 cells. That is a characteristic of mitosis. We're making 2 identical daughter cells. Okay, a type of cell reproduction, that's actually a characteristic of both. Both of these are a type of cell division or cell reproduction. All right, creates gametes. That is a product or characteristic of meiosis. We're creating sex cells. All right, so 2N to N. That means we're going from diploid to haploid. That is another example of or characteristic of meiosis, because we're reducing the number of chromosomes. We're going to the full amount to the half amount in those gametes. Okay, 2N to 2N, that means it's staying the same. That's a characteristic of mitosis. Both the starting and ending cells are going to be diploid. They have the full set, they're identical. Okay, creates somatic cells or body cells. Again, this is an example of mitosis. Okay, pollen is created. Well, I think we had this epiphany in some of my classes where we realized that pollen is actually plant sperm. So if it is plant sperm, that means it's a gamete, which means that pollen is created through meiosis. Okay, but how do we produce blood cells? Well, blood cells are a type of body cell. So blood cells are produced through mitosis. Right? Asexual reproduction. We're producing identical offspring. That is an example of mitosis. Okay, crossing over occurs. Remember, this is that process that occurs in meiosis where homologous chromosomes line up next to each other and switch over genes to increase genetic diversity. Okay, because we're increasing genetic diversity, this occurs during meiosis. All right, just a few more. Creates a clone. A clone is an example of an identical copy, which means this is an example of mitosis. All right, chromosome number is reduced by half. That's another way of saying we're going from a diploid cell to a haploid cell. We're reducing the total number of chromosomes. So that's an example of meiosis. All right, 2 more. Chromosome number stays the same. It's staying identical, which means that is an example of mitosis. It's staying haploid. Or whoa, it's staying diploid. Oof, I really can't talk today. And last but not least, phases include PMAT. That is a characteristic of both mitosis and meiosis. Okay, so I told you guys not to worry too much about memorizing those different steps of mitosis and meiosis, but we do need to know that PMAT stands for prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. And we usually lump cytokinesis into that process of telophase as well, when the cell actually splits. All right. I hope that's somewhat legible. I'm realizing my handwriting is absolutely terrible. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Okay, so that is all you need to know about comparing and contrasting mitosis and meiosis. Make sure you know what the characteristics of each are, as well as what they have in common. Use that information to complete your exit ticket. And other than that, have a wonderful weekend and have a good break as well. I'll see you guys on the 22nd.